Hi guys, I'm with Jodine Tapper, who's a transformational life coach, and she's awesome. She's been to one of my meetups. And Jodine, tell me about more about what this transformational life coaching means.
So for me, the transformational life coaching means pretty much just helping, giving persons the support that they need, as well as providing the right accountability.
Okay.
And in addition to that, just providing them with the tools that they need to help them from being stuck. Because most persons, they're stuck in one life crisis or another.
Mhm.
And so I help them around that. I primarily center around like dealing with limiting beliefs, fear. I do a lot of work around fear, as well as just whatever limiting beliefs you might have or anywhere you might feel stuck in your life.
Gotcha. So you help people overcome just feelings of being stuck and psychological barriers that prevent people from taking to the next level, whatever that might be.
Precisely.
Right. Um, and I know when you came to my meetup, we talked a lot about like niche refinement,
Hmm.
um, and this idea of helping kind of millennials who are going through a grieving process, like focusing on them,
Hmm.
and then that led to you. You hosted over the weekend like your first workshop. I am really curious to see how that turned out because um, I I've never hosted a workshop in a library. I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
And I just want to hear more about that and who showed up, what you learned from it, just everything that was going on in your mind from hosting your first workshop. And I think we can all learn a lot from that. What was the workshop?
So that workshop was called Master the Art of Moving On After Loss. This came about, which funny enough, after I came to your workshop, because I didn't have a niche prior to prior to coming to your workshop.
Mhm.
I didn't. When I said I didn't have a niche, I meant that I knew I wanted to deal with fear, but I didn't know how to specifically go in there. So I remember coming to your workshop and we were going through it, and we kind of got stuck on grieving millennials. I don't know if you remember that,
Oh yeah, definitely.
but I remember telling you that I was trying so hard to not do that because for me, I was still in my process of grieving. And so it was always like a struggle to go back there and like work with persons from there when I knew that I was still working through it. But I kept on going back and forth with it, and I delved deeper after I left your workshop. And as I kept on delving, like everything kind of just like manifested itself like so effortlessly. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so, using what I had before, the material I had before with fair, and I kind of just paired that with what I discovered, and then that just kind of just brought about just like lots of persons they're grieving. There's so many persons grieving, especially with the loss of a parent or whatnot. My experience was with the loss of a parent, so I wanted to stay focused on where I was because that was where I had more strength and just help persons to move forward. So it's
Mhm.
not about like staying stuck in the grieving process, but how do you move forward? And just using myself as example, and then just like looking back at how I pushed through to even be at the place that I am right now.
Right.
And so that's where the whole workshop came about. And as the workshop came about, what I did was I started to really reach out to persons and I did a lot of interviews just to kind of understand where persons were and to see where I would be able to help persons. And just listening to other person's story, and it was very, very liberating. It definitely gave me the drive to really, really push through and make this workshop um, a reality, pretty much.
Interesting. So I didn't know about the interviews. Um, I want to comment on what you just said first, and you know, you the niche we've talked about this, but like obviously a very sensitive and like it's a sensitive niche, and for you too, like you have
Hmm.
personal feelings that I mean you've gone through this yourself, and it's just
Hmm.
hard. It's just a really tricky and touchy subject,
Hmm.
but you kept going back to it, and it just sounds like, you know, even if it's really hard, it's the thing that it's the kind of thing that people need the most, and you can help with the most because you've gone through it yourself.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, yeah, so it was interesting that you kept coming back to that. And in terms of interviews, it was really smart of you to go about before hosting the workshop is like you talked to people personally and got their perspective on what they needed. You talk to
Mhm.
your target customers, which is something I teach that in my course, is that you go reach out to people for customer research and just let them tell you what's going on without trying to sell anything. Just let them like tell you what they need.
Mhm.
So that was really smart that you did that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I do want to know, some people struggle though, like with how they actually find these interviews. How do you find people to interview for customer research?
So how that went about, so I'd known a few persons who had gone through similar experience. So in reaching out to them, they shared more information about the same thing. And
Okay.
as I kept on putting myself out there on social media, I had persons reach out to me. And so with persons reaching out to me, I then took the initiative. I remember we were talking, you're like, just go in Facebook and just like target these specific groups. And I remember going specifically into these groups, again, not even going to sell anything. And I realized that that made all the conversations so much more genuine. Like persons are so much more willing to talk to you, and like you just want to talk to them.
Right.
And so persons are always willing to share. And so these are the different ways in which I went out to find persons. So I went on different social media sites, and in reaching out to persons started reaching out to me too. And
Mm,
so it was easier, and it was just like, even where I work, like just having normal conversations with persons, telling them what I was doing. And then with persons seeing how open I was and how comfortable I was in sharing, persons started to become very comfortable with themselves and sharing their own information too. And it just like conversation so much more easier.
yeah. No, I think that especially because you were vulnerable. I think a lot of people don't get that response, even if they do reach out to people, and even if they like, they're talking on the right social media channels, they're posting on social media, they don't always get the results that you're getting, which is like people are reaching out to you, they want to hear more, and they feel really comfortable around you.
Hmm.
What I think you did to make that happen is that you were really comfortable being vulnerable and sharing your story, and kind of it being maybe a little ugly, and
Yeah.
and that allowed people to feel really comfortable around you, and again, you weren't, there was no agenda at all to sell.
Yeah.
You were just talking. You just have, and people sell way too soon when they
Yeah.
really need to focus, they need to focus on relationships. um and yeah, so everything that you're doing sounds great.
Thank
And so you went from interview to then that kind of solidified your idea to put on this workshop. And then how
you.
did you go about, what was the next steps in that? How did you put on the workshop? How did you advertise or promote the workshop? And let's start there.
So I advertised mainly on social media, from Facebook to Instagram, which is kind of a challenge for me because like I am seldomly on social media. I'm always taking social media vacations.
Yeah.
So in being able and having to go on social media and knowing that, hey, like this is one of your vulnerable places, you have to really go out there and put yourself out there. That was a challenge for me. And trying not to focus so much on creating a website, because that was always a thing, because like it's so easy to jump from one thing to another and then get distracted. And so I kind of set ground rules, and I knew the purpose of me going on these social media sites. So I made sure, okay, so I'm posting in these different things, either Facebook or Instagram, which were the two main places that I stayed. And then I asked friends to publicize it for me, so
Mhm.
especially persons who had like huge followings, because what I realized that on my social media, especially Instagram, these were lots of friends, but these friends were still like further away. So I in me putting it on social media, knowing that I'm in Long Island at the moment and I needed persons around my geographic region. I had friends who lived in the area with lots of following. As I said, just had them publish it on their sites. And as they got a chance to put it out there, then they started getting feedback, and then they'll just like transfer it right over to me. And then on Facebook, I did a boost and I boosted it right in my area, which was pretty good. I got some persons who were interested from there.
Gotcha.
And yeah, just like word of mouth as well. Like I did posters and so I put them around in different places and I got some feedback from that as well. So it was just like
Yeah.
word of mouth and social media.
Yeah. I like what you're doing there because you're targeting locally in this small area in Long Island. And so
Hmm.
it makes a lot of sense to leverage your friends on Instagram and on social media, your friends on Instagram who have a following in Long Island because you know people in Long Island and that
Hmm.
they obviously know people in Long Island. So that makes a lot of sense when you're targeting locally to leverage your
Hmm.
your actual friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Facebook Boost is that you can target, for anyone who doesn't know this, you can target, by your location. So you can boost a post on Facebook or make a Facebook ad and
Hmm.
pick the location like within 10 miles of Long Island. And that definitely could help. But it's obviously a budget thing. Like the more you spend, the more results
Hmm.
you get.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, that seems like, and I also like that you didn't get distracted by the shiny objects. It would be great to have a website, but at the same time, like you were focused on like putting this workshop on and getting initial interview feedback, and you
Hmm.
weren't letting yourself kind of get distracted by something that you need down the line, but you don't have to do it. You don't have
Yeah.
to do it right now. So
Because it's so easy to get overwhelmed by all of these things. Like persons are constantly telling you, you need a website, you need this, you need that. And if it is that you're just starting out, having all these things in your face, it's easy for you to become overwhelmed. And with you being overwhelmed, then you just stay stuck because you can't figure out what you're supposed to do. And
right,
I think that's the challenge that a lot of coaches or even young entrepreneurs starting out get faced with. So if it is that you have an agenda and you have a plan, you just, I mean, the whole aim is just to start small and understand that because you're starting small, that doesn't mean that you're not going to elevate to the bigger stuff. You just got to take the
exactly.
baby steps.
Most people don't think like that, and I'm glad that you do. Most people like get way ahead of themselves, and you're taking a really patient approach.
Hmm.
You're really taking it, you're really focusing on what you need to do right now, which is talking to people. And too many people, they like jump to automation and like website funnels before even having like the
Yeah.
foundation set up, which is like you're talking to all these people and like having real conversations about what your customers need.
Hmm.
um, and then and so how was the workshop itself? Like you hosted on Saturday. Who showed up? Was it disappointing? Did it live up to the expectations? Were you able to help people in the way you wanted to?
Hmm. So the turnout, I had 4 persons who showed up. These are persons that I knew, and these are persons who had problems. Like I'd spoken to them before, and them coming, I realized that they had some back. They had some reasons for needing the workshop. Um, I mean, in hindsight, before it was like, okay, how I approached the workshop was like, if I got 3 persons, that's good enough. That's good enough because I didn't put too much pressure on myself to say, oh my god, like I have to have like this huge amount of persons. The main aim of me doing a workshop was for me to get out there and to really start telling my story and to really start putting my program out there. And with me knowing that that was the main intention, however many persons showed up, um, it really didn't impact it, but it just gave me like an added like a boost, if you may,
Yeah,
to
you
really get
produced
my.
something.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what I really needed. And just being able to share the story and talk to them and just like see how interactive they were with the information that I was giving them. And knowing that whatever it is that I was giving, they received something from it.
Mhm.
Like that was the main thing. Like knowing that with me sharing and with me going out there, persons could actually benefit from it. And the feedback that I got from them, like straight up, they gave me like honest opinions and they told me they definitely got something from it. And so with me knowing that, like I felt so much more confident in myself and in the material that I was bringing to keep on pushing. And so now like I have that drive to go for and then do another workshop. Of course, I know what worked before, what didn't work, and so now I need to know that, okay, push more for the amount of for more persons being there. So know that I know I have to create new intentions for this workshop. So yeah, the turnout was not big, but that didn't really impact me
Yeah.
too much.
Hey,
I
it sounds big to me. Like you had, honestly, to me, like just putting in the workshop and having one person show up, or even zero, and you showed up and you did the event. That's a
Yeah,
success.
yeah,
You know, and as you said, it's a perfect way to test your services, get your idea out there, get real time feedback of you testing out like this new offer with this new market, and
mhm,
then boosting your confidence in terms of, okay, yeah, it actually does help people, and you are going to, you know, really help. You're going to be able to offer this service to people because it's so helpful.
yeah,
And yeah, so I think that what you did for people is I've had workshops where one person showed up, and then
mhm,
even when that happens, I just focus on them really intensely, and then it ends
yes,
up being great.
yep.
Um, and um, so yeah, you were getting at it, but so for next time, what are you gonna do differently? Um, and again, 4 people is a good turnout, but what are you going to do differently? So, because it sounds like you want some more people. Um, what will you do differently from next time? And when are you going to put on your next workshop?
So for the next workshop, I want to mainly focus on grabbing persons to really sign up. So these persons they came and so they're sharing it with other friends. So next with me doing it the next time, I want to really focus on persons who definitely have a need for it. So persons who've lost somebody like just recently and who can benefit from my service like right away.
Hmm.
So it makes it easier for me to like put my program out there and have them like grab on it like right away. So I know that with me doing this next workshop, at the end of it, I should at least be able to grab at least 2 or 3 persons to start working with right away.
Oh, okay.
So that's the aim of the next workshop.
It's the
Tentatively,
transition into like you coaching them one on one.
exactly.
Cool. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Tentatively, my next workshop, trying to see if I can do it like in December. So it's
Okay.
something that's supposed to come up really soon, but I still need to give myself like some break. And
Yeah.
one of the next things is just like I might have to like dominate the social media and the marketing parts of it a little bit more than I did the last time. So these are the next steps that I would take in trying to make the next one better.
Gotcha. And you know what? You have a good intuition about social media, which is like you can use it. There's 2 ways to kind of use it. One is like you post content, but the other way that people forget about is you actually talking to people on social media. Like if someone is from Long Island and they're talking about like they're obviously going through like a grieving thing, um,
Hmm.
is you reaching out to them and sending and just talking back and forth, and maybe transitioning to a video conversation without, you know, selling anything, just having a conversation. And that person's highly likely, if you talk to them one on one and like help them support them, that person's highly likely to want to show up to your workshop
Hmm.
when it comes up, as opposed to you just relying on posting things on Instagram, like posting like sharing photos and stuff. That could be good, but
Hmm.
you have less kind of control over who decides to end up actually going to your workshop, because it's kind of like, oh, I hope people show up if I
Yeah,
post more and more stuff, but it's still good to do.
that is true. That's true.
Um, cool. So I'm gonna wrap up and get going. Thank you so much for sharing your workshop story. I hope to do one again, um, and I hope to do another interview with you soon, like
Yeah,
about maybe a future workshop or just progress in the future. I like our back and forths, so definitely want to do more of this in the future.
definitely, for sure.
And I'll definitely share, you know, I'll share a link to your Instagram page or Facebook page or whatever it is in the post, so people can check you out and refer people to you who would be interested.
I appreciate that, Matt.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
No problem. No problem.